Hi everyone, my name is Anahit and I'm here today with Mr. Killian, who is one of the coaches of SRLA as well as Dr. Badi and Miss Park. So, Mr. Killian, could you give me an overview of SRLA? What is SRLA?
So from going back to the history of it, SRLA was founded in 40 years ago, 1986, and it was founded by a high school teacher who worked at a continuation school, like as I have done myself. Worked at a continuation school. You're always looking for fun, creative, unique ways to get kids motivated because they end up at the continuation because they're struggling to be motivated. And so that year, he thought on a whim he would challenge his kids to a marathon. They kind of took the challenge as kind of like, wow, that sounds like a big, hard, difficult task. And so in 1986, he did it. They finished it. Obviously, their lives were kind of forever changed after that. But following that, that teacher with his colleagues said, look what I did. Look what we did from kind of proposing the challenge, overcoming the challenge, and that's kind of SRLA and kind of at its roots, at its foundation. They have partnered with almost 200 high schools and middle schools. And what the program is kind of proposing the opportunity to get kids to do something hard. SRLA, and this is kind of the thing, but it's kind of a bit of a misnomer, is SRLA is not a running program. It is a life skills program. We set a far off goal into the future and we work towards it. Running is secondary to what it is. And so that's kind of what it is at its core, is partnering up with high schools, giving kids an opportunity to do something hard, but giving them the tools and the milestones along the way to work towards it. And it ultimately culminates in the marathon, which is why it's perceived as just a running program, but it is much more than just a running program.
Mhm. So then, what do you think are the hidden pieces of SRLA that we don't usually think of? Because, as you mentioned, SRLA isn't just solely running, which is how it's often perceived.
We have a communications team that, like any family, like any community, needs to get information out. There's an ambassador of women's sports leadership opportunity. We communicate through Slack. We communicate through text. Communicate through. There's a third one on that. Oh, a Life 360 we tried this year. We have kind of adopted recognizing that our elders, meaning our older runners, meaning our seniors, some of our juniors, have a perspective to share to us coaches as teachers. And it is so priceless because it helps us make decisions that are sometimes hard decisions to make over the year. Give a concrete example. We had 20 runners or 22 runners kind of trying out for 16 spots. And we pulled our leaders in. They had seen everybody kind of from day one to that point when we had to make that tough decision. And they helped us decide who were the 16 that we could put on our spot. There's a captain position. There's actually two people that can do the captain. There's the ambassador of women's sports, this kind of informal elders position, all of our means of communication. We pull in our parents, our families to help donate and even participate in practice. Sometimes out along the course, bringing things and encouraging things. And so, all of these things are all of the pieces and parts of the puzzle that make us a relay run, because it's not just a coach sending out a route and saying go and hoping that they show up. Like any family, we are trying to get the pieces together to keep everyone together. I mean, another piece of it, which is another, whether it's formal or informal, I don't know, is every practice starts with sitting in a circle, talking about why we do what we're doing and what's kind of the latest challenge. And they kind of get progressively more deep. It starts off with why do you run? It starts off with who you're running for in the sense of what brings you motivation. So those are some of the pieces and parts of what SRLA is.
Yeah. And then how do you guys take students out and into SRLA who might not be interested in the running aspect itself?
I think the key in being inviting is recognizing whatever the task, meaning like whether it is something hard in school, something hard it is that you're trying to accomplish, in order to lessen somewhat the difficulty, to make it fun and playful. And my personality kind of tends toward that direction, whether it's cracking a dumb joke here or there or in a lesson, sometimes fitting and not fitting. But I try to invite people out and say, SRLA will surprise you in what you're able to accomplish through SRLA. But I also tell people, if you've never ran before, but even if you've only ran 100 yards, just racing with your friends for goofing off reasons, come out and give it a try. So our first practice, 2 or 3 weeks into the school year, August, September time, so just come out. If you can barely run 100 yards, that's where you start. So just come to your first practice, because our first practice, it's not like we have low expectations, but I don't want the pressure to be there. Because I think what people will realize is once they come, that despite running having the appearance of being an individual sport, it's backed by the community and family that gets built. And then the play is all a part of it. We goof off, we tease each other. Inside jokes become a thing that we have, or inside nicknames become a thing that we do with each other. And so those are the pieces and parts that invite people in, that make it welcoming, make people come even though they never thought about running, or they never thought of themselves as a runner.
2, 1.
And then, as we know, there's an SRLA program within the elective,
Mhm.
and then there's also the X block. So could you tell me how that works?
I mean, from a X block SRLA standpoint, it's Monday, Thursday, Friday. It's the same thing. And so people come into X block, we take attendance. There are 2 teachers there, 2 coaches there. So Dr. Batty this year, it had been previously Mr. Haberman. And we both just take attendance, and from kind of all intents and purposes, it looks the same as a regular X block, except there's just more of us. And we run. We have, as far as like, we have a destination, we have a meeting spot, and we have there tends to be a route. Now, as the year progresses, particularly as we get closer to the official marathon training team and certain races, I will express a higher expectation for the marathon runners, those that are training for the races. So that becomes explicit just by explaining it in the thing. But the other difference between the SRLA and the X block is those that are coming, or those that are on the official team, show up on Sundays. And truth be told, there are actually, as there have been in the last few years, there's the official SRLA marathon training team. Those are on the roster. They get the shoes, get the materials, which I didn't explain earlier. But there are a few other runners that just like being out with us. And so they're in the X block. They also show up on Sundays. They're not on the official marathon training team. They're not going to be benefiting from running the marathon. And so Monday, Thursday, and Friday, it's all the same. But then there are those that are extra committed on the marathon training team, so they show up on Sundays, and that's when we have our practices that progressively get farther and farther. This last practice, we ran 15 miles. The previous race before that was 19 miles, which was our peak distance before the marathon. And then in the week before the marathon, because we're going to taper our miles, it'll be 12 miles before the marathon, 12 miles on Sunday before the marathon.
And sort of with that schedule, how can students join SRLA?
I mean, at this point, of course, the marathon is less than 2 weeks away. But the way that a student would join SRLA is, I mean, even in the freshman boot camp, we have Club Rush, or a version of Club Rush. And so we put out a bunch of medals and the variety of things to like say, hey, these are things you can get. And so from the freshman boot camp, we kind of put out the flag of awareness. Once the first day of school starts, there tends to be a group of students who are just aware of it.
Yeah.
We have boot camp within the first 2 weeks usually. But to answer your question concretely, students would just say, I'm interested. What do I do? They would see me, get a form, which is a physical form. There's several, not that I need to spell out every detail, but there's several like pieces of paper, administrative paper to fill out. One of them is they have to get a physical from their doctor to show that they're physically able to run, and then start showing up at the first practice. The first practice is usually by the 3rd week of school, sometimes September 1st, sometimes September 7th, and they start showing up at Sunday practice. And then by showing up at Sunday practice and being in the X block, getting their paperwork filled out, they're in proximity to hearing all the news, all the information, all the updates, reminders of all the upcoming deadlines. And we don't officially set what our team is until December, but to go back to it, starting in the beginning of the year, express interest, get a physical done, get the paperwork done, start coming to practice and figuring out how much you like it and why you want to continue coming.
Thank you. And we know that March 8th is or marathon, which
Yeah.
is what you guys, the goal is to run a marathon.
Yeah, big goal.
Could you tell me about the upcoming race? And lastly, how can the rest of HTLA friends and family come to watch and support you guys?
Yeah, March 8th is our big day. I would say the best way to come and support us is if you really want to come, see me, email me, find me on campus. I feel like I always know where I am. No, but see me and find me and like find out like where can you park? What are the road closures? What are the details as far as like timing to like leave your house to get to downtown LA? See me. The website is you could probably Google LA Marathon and find the map, find the route, find those things. If you're hesitant on being able to go because early Sunday morning is just not a thing, but you want to support in some way, maybe make signs. And there are often a lot of parents that go, but maybe they don't have signs, and so you could do those things, and we'd be more than happy to receive the shouts and the cheers along the course, even if it's a surprise. So even if you don't see me, but you show up, love to see anybody along the course and the route. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Killian.
My pleasure. Thank you for
being
giving me
our
time.
interview today.
Mhm.
Thank you.